Hello and welcome to your weekly gulp from the water fountain of electric car knowledge from the team at electrifying.com. So this week we'll be talking about the best cars for carrying stuff, which car companies are in the doo-doo, and free electricity. Yeah, we'll also be answering your electric car questions and dipping into the postbag to find out your views on everything electric. Welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour. I'm Nicola.
And I'm Tom.
And where is everyone? There's
Well, yeah, it's just us. Have we done one just us before? I don't think we have we?
I don't think we have. This is nice.
No. Well, yeah. Well, Mike's on holiday. Lucky him.
Right.
And Ginny is in Korea driving Korean things.
Yes, she is driving Korean things.
Companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And eating lots of Korean food by looks of her Instagram. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Are we allowed to say what it is? I think we probably are, aren't we? She's driving the Kia EV3, which she's very excited about, and the Hyundai Insta, which she's also quite excited about.
Did you say Hyundai?
Oh, sorry.
Hyundai. Just going to pull you up on that.
Hyundai. Is it Hyundai? Yes.
Hyundai. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry.
I still do that all the time. Hyundai. It's same.
I wonder if it'll stick, because it didn't before. Did they tried it probably before you were born, and they just gave up after spending literally £1 million trying to get people to say Hyundai, and then they just went, oh.
Well, then they did that advert. There was the advert that went out like 3 months ago that was like, I think you'll find it's called Hyundai. And I was like, oh, please don't do this for someone who has to talk about car names on camera.
I know, but they got some publicity, and now they'll probably just forget it, won't they?
That's very true. I was under orders today to bring a water bottle.
Yeah. That's because we'll do a comment early on, because we'll need to explain this. So this is from the YouTubes. And Johnny Bob 1972 says, "Hi, I love your podcasts every week. However, could both of you have a drink of water occasionally, as all your talking naturally gives you dry mouth, which is really off-putting."
I know. Do you know what's weird is I know exactly what he means. Not that I've ever heard it in your voice, but you know when you kind of get like a, oh, it's gross. Even hearing myself do it, it's absolutely disgusting. But it's like a lip smack, horrible noise.
Well, I've bought specially from Amazon a very large 2-litre bottle, which you can tell is from Amazon, and it was the cheap one because it just says on it, bottle. And the instructions kind of had for dehydration not, and drink throughout day regular.
Yeah, good solid advice.
And it took me about an hour to assemble, and I'm like, how does the straw go in there? Anyway, 2 litres. So I'm gonna have
Have you tried that in any cup holders? I've got my my Volvo branded bottle, which I got from California.
You see, there are other people
and
later on.
And it's got my name on. Yeah.
There are other people later on who say we're in the pay of car companies, and then you come on with a freebie from a car company.
Oh, mate.
You just prove.
You should know me by now. I will do anything for a freebie. I really will. Anything that's merch, I'll have it. So whenever you go to a car launch, right, there's always notebooks, there's always pens. I'll have them all. Even if I'm not physically writing anything, give it to me. If there's a bottle with a brand name on it, I'll have it. Key rings, give it. I'll have it. There's a whole room in my house that's just full of branded tat because I absolutely love it. If it's got a brand name on it, I'm having it.
At motor shows, if Porsche, if we're doing that things properly, used to have a press conference, they'd have these nice little packets of 3 pencils on the chairs at the press conference.
Yeah.
And you'd see people coming in early and going and swiping the pencils, and you thought they're going to be on eBay next week, aren't they, for a tenner each? That
would be me, except I wouldn't put them on eBay. I'd just keep them. I've got a Porsche face mask from years ago. I think we went to a car awards thing, and I went with Porsche. And this was like, face masks were pretty much not even being used anymore. But they were like, we've got some face masks if anyone needs them. I was like, I'll have them. Is it branded? I'll have them. Give me. I'll take them. I think I went home with like 4. I've never worn them. They're just sat in the room, just being branded tat. I love it.
Should we do some news?
Right, let's do some news. Go for it.
Well, the first one I want to ask you about, because presumably it was announced while you were with Volvo doing the EX90 drive, which is that they've quietly abandoned their commitment to only having electric vehicles by 2030. Were they talking about this, or did they just...
They said nothing.
No.
They said
It's
no.
not the sort of thing you press release, is it?
It's not. No. Do you know what? It's interesting because for Volvo to do that, do you think that's going to be the start of other brands doing the same?
Well, I mean, Volvo got a load of publicity, didn't they, by saying, "Oh, we're going to abandon petrol and diesel cars by 2030," and it
Yeah.
was a big hoo-ha. And now they're quietly saying, "Well, no, we might do a few,
Yeah.
actually."
That's what I think is
So
going to happen to a lot of brands. I think they'll end up doing the same.
yeah, maybe they will. I mean, the trouble is that brands like Volvo won't have been developing petrol and diesel engines. So presumably they're going to have to make the old ones last a bit longer and get through all the new emissions regulations just by, I don't know, stuffing some cotton wool up the exhaust or something.
That'll do.
Because they won't have any nice new engines because they just haven't been developing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was because I remember seeing it, and then I was like, oh, maybe they'll talk about it. And no, nothing was said on the entire event. It was just talking about the EX90, which I'm more than happy to talk about. By the way, did you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah.
Right. So I was out in California, for the Volvo EX90 launch, and you know what? Pleasantly surprised by it. Drives so quietly. It is silent when you consider the fact that it's like it's a box, a giant box. It is completely silent, and you're on massive wheels and all that sort of stuff. But it was a really, really smooth ride. The problem was the software issues, which I think we could all see coming.
Yeah. I mean, this is the trouble. The EX30 we loved. We think it's a great car. But when we went on the launch, they said, "Oh, yeah, all those things that have gone wrong with it, they'll be fixed by the time customers get the cars." And they weren't, and they're still not, as far as I can tell from our postbag.
Yep.
And I just couldn't recommend one until I know that they're fixed. And I just think on something like a EX90, you spend £100,000 on that car, and it doesn't work, you're going to be a bit cross, aren't you?
Well, the thing is so we were with maybe, I don't know, 20 other journos, and then you've got the German team that were out there at the same time. And it seemed like in the majority of cars, the screens went blank. And I was speaking to another journo who was at the same event, but the week before us, they had the same issue. And apparently they had to bring out a spare car where the screen was actually working. So then I asked some questions. I was like, well, what's going on here? Like all of the screens seem to be cutting out. And they said, this isn't a pre-production car. This is a production car, but it's not quite customer ready. The software isn't customer ready. And I was like, well, when are you sending them out to customers? And they went, oh, in about a week's time. I was like, oh, that's a problem. That's a problem. When you consider it happened to many of us, it didn't just happen in my car that I was driving. It happened to a lot of people on that event. That's an issue that they really, really need to look into. And as soon as it happened, I was in the car with Manos and we looked at each other just unsurprised by the whole thing. We went, oh, well, there it is.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah, I think when I went on the Polestar launch and I drove the Polestar 4, and a week later they said, "Oh, it had the wrong software. We uploaded one from our school project on a floppy disk or something," and then you tried it again and it was much better. But you think, "Oh, that's unusual," and then you think back to the EX30, and then you think back to Zika, which is part of the same group, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they had funny software, and they said, "Oh, it's pre-production. We might." I think they need to get some more people in their software department and have these fixed before they go out to customers.
And the thing is the software that is promised sounds amazing. And like the tech and like the LiDAR laser systems that they've got for all the safety features all sound incredible. But if there's going to be issues of something as simple as a screen completely going blank, can you completely trust it yet? Is it completely customer ready? Not so much a week's time, but in a few months' time. I don't know. They clearly need a lot more time to look at it. Apart from that, it was a very lovely car.
The LiDAR thing's interesting because you were talking on the video, which is obviously on YouTube, about the taxi sign on the front. So there's the LiDAR sensors above where you'd have the rear view mirror and the windscreen look like a London taxi sign.
Yeah.
And that is an issue. And you look at even things on like a Lotus. I think they've got a pop-up one on some of the Lotuses because it looks a bit weird otherwise. And I think Tesla have got around this by saying we're not having LiDAR. We're just going to run it all off cameras. So they do the same things as LiDAR with the cameras, apparently.
Well,
so hopefully that will work and we don't have to have the taxi sign anymore. That will be just obsolete soon.
Well, I'm hoping that they can stick with the LiDAR, but just not have that massive chunky thing at the top somehow. Because
Yeah.
I was talking with the guy that sort of helps design the LiDAR systems and how everything all works. And you compare that to a camera and it can
Mm.
see much further in much better
Mm.
detail. It will spot things that a camera just cannot see. I mean, it can go
Right.
250 meters, not just straight ahead of you, but in like a
Mm.
full panoramic view. It's scanning everything. It's sending out tens of thousands of points every second,
Mm.
scanning what's going on ahead of you, whereas a camera can't do that. And especially when
Mm.
it's happening at night time while it's raining, the camera won't be as good a quality as what the LiDAR can pick up.
Mm.
So I'm hoping
Mm.
that in future, especially when it comes to, autonomous driving and all that rubbish, that
Mm.
it will all be done by LiDAR systems and not by camera sensors, because I feel like it's a way safer way of doing it.
And hopefully it'll be a bit better than all the current systems where it slams on the brakes for no reason.
Yeah, and it would just work.
Mm.
It would be nice,
Mm.
wouldn't it? Be nice if it
Mm.
works. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we
Yeah.
had a lovely time in California, and yeah, it was. Thank you for all the comments, by the way, on my American accent. Clearly, watching
Yeah.
trashy American TV has paid off.
There are more comments on your accent than there are at than about the car. Would you like to, for people who haven't watched the video, they should go and watch it now, obviously. But would you just like to give perhaps a brief preview of your American accent?
I mean,
You can talk about the maybe the Dacia Spring or something, which is the next news item
oh yeah,
in your
okay.
California accent. Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you exactly how it happened. Literally, as soon as we turned up out there, we just started talking like that. And then me and Manos were talking like that the entire trip. And we were like, oh, we might as well just put this in the video because it's just stupid and funny. Because that's how they talk. So they go, hey, so I don't know if you know this, but the Dacia Spring is now going to be even cheaper. So it's going to be available from September, which is like now. And you can get one for like 14,495, which is like 500 pounds off. you have to go you have to go down and go into your vocal fry at the end of every sentence, because they kind of go at the end of every sentence. There we
You've been
go.
to drama school, haven't you?
I clearly have. Meanwhile, Dacia Spring.
Yeah,
How has it
£500 off.
even
So
got cheaper?
I know they haven't even delivered the first cars yet. They've
Yeah.
already locked £500. I wonder why. I don't know. Maybe the demand's not what they expect it to be, or
No,
they
it's
want to
got
take
to
the
be.
wind out of somebody else's sails. I don't know.
The demand has to be there. The demand is there for a budget EV, and for actually something that drives reasonably well, because I went out and I drove it for that launch, and I was pleasantly surprised by it, because I was expecting the steering to be nothing, but
Mm.
there was a little bit of feel behind the steering, and
Mm.
you can put your foot down even though it's got, what has it got, 75 horsepower or something like that, and then the really slow
Mm.
one's got like 45 or something.
It's 65 and 45, isn't
65
it?
and
Yeah.
45, there we go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you
So,
can do a very gentle overtake, it's possible, and for 14,495, that is a
yeah.
bargain and a half, isn't it?
Yeah. 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 It's good. I think it takes £158 a month on the PCP, which is yeah,
That's
chips,
beautiful.
chips, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we like that. And I think somebody last week was saying that we should do more base models, as in testing more base models, and asking why we didn't. And we were explaining that we had to take what the manufacturers got, and the manufacturers don't put base models on, and also manufacturers don't actually want to sell you a base model. Was the general gist of the conversation. But I have a base model on test now, so I've got it for a few weeks. And obviously, I've talked about my Lexus UX and preferring it to the previous RZ I had, because it was just nicer and I'm an old man. So I've now got a Lexus RZ300. So rather than the 450, which has two motors, this has one motor, front wheel drive. And I think it's great. I mean, it's quite strange. They've obviously taken some money out by doing things like taking some of the nice bits away, like a head-up display and those around view cameras that you do for. But I really like those. Really missing that. But otherwise, it's great. It's got small wheels, which I like because they go over bumps much better.
Yeah.
And it locks quite a lot of money off the list price, and it's far more efficient. So it's doing sort of nearly 4 miles per kilowatt hour, whereas the other one did like 2.5. So great so far.
Brilliant.
Base models for the win.
Woo! Base models.
Mm.
I'm assuming we've both seen the pictures of the Renault 17.
Yeah. Now, it's a strange thing about the Renault 17. So for people who don't know, Renault has released as a concept car a resto mod, so a kind of updated version of one of its classics, which is the Renault 17, and it's an electric car, and it looks very funky. The thing is, resto mods tend to be of cars that people really loved. So I don't know, the Beetle, the 911. Well, the Capri's not a good example, is it? But those sorts of cars that are really iconic.
Renault 5 could be a good example there.
Renault 5, good example. Yeah. The thing is, I'm a car geek, and I know just what a Renault 17 is, but I don't think most people would. I mean, it's a good-looking car in its day, I suppose, but has anyone else ever seen one? I don't know.
I'll be honest.
It's a straight,
I don't think I've ever seen the original unless I randomly saw one at a car show once.
Yeah.
But off the top of my head, I no, I don't think I have. But I saw the images of the new concept version, and I went, "Oh, that looks cool though. That looks really cool." But I feel like we're just at a point in our lives where everything is just an SUV now, and everything all kind of looks the same and feels the same. That maybe we're just craving a retro vibe.
Yeah, true. I think there was a Renault 15 as well. Well, let us know if you remember the Renault 17. If you had one, then you're probably of a certain age. I think they tended to rust quite quickly, and that's why they all disappeared. But do let us know if you've ever had one.
Yeah. Because I mean, I can't off the top of my. Was it the same shape?
I mean, it looks like that. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that
we'll get Manos to put up a picture of a Renault 17, a classic one, and the new one, and see what you think.
Yeah. What else you got, Tom?
So the other car I was talking last week about, I had a Mini that came in, which was a bit of a surprise because it was the John Cooper Works version.
Oh, very
and I wasn't
fun.
expecting that. I was expecting a nice one, and it wasn't. And I still don't know how much the car cost because there was no prices on it, but I would imagine it's probably about 50 grand. And I know I'm sounding spoilt here, and I know I'm sounding like an old fogey, but I'm quite pleased it's gone back.
Why?
Because it was just so tiring to drive. Just constantly. I had that, and I had the Lexus to choose from, which I know is a great thing, but I've also got some other crap cars. And occasionally I just think, I'm going to take an old Fiat Panda rather than that, just because I can't be bothered to go over bumps in it.
Tom, you're showing your age now. You really are.
I know. It's like you want to put it on a trailer and take it around a track, and that's about it. But no, otherwise, had a great stereo though.
Stereo, Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I think I'd love it. I'd love a John Cooper Works Mini. That's a bit of me, that. Something where I can just go out and have fun, even if I am just popping to Tesco. Absolutely, sign me up. Yeah.
Well, even my kids, who were teenagers and thought it looked great, were in it and just went, I can see what you mean, Dad.
Oh, well, they've just been living with you for too long. Maybe that's what it is.
Possibly.
You need old man do nothing cars. That's what you need.
Yeah. The other thing that's been interesting this week for me, but it might be interesting to other people as well, is that I've had 2 power cuts, which haven't been very long, but it's been interesting because it's made me think that things like vehicle to grid can't come soon enough, or I need a kind of domestic battery situation so that it will cover it, because inevitably I'll be in the middle of writing something which has then disappeared forever.
Oh no, that would be heartbreaking.
Yeah, but the other thing is, have you been getting free electricity from Octopus? Are you with Octopus?
I'm not with Octopus. No.
No. Well,
have you been getting free electricity?
Yeah. Well, sorry for all the people who are abroad and don't know about this, but Octopus is one of the big energy companies here, and they do some clever things. And they sent me an email 3 weeks ago, I suppose, saying there seems that we reckon that tomorrow it's going to be very sunny and very windy, which means we're going to have loads of leftover electricity and the wholesale price will be nothing. So we'll give it to you. So between hours of 1 and 2 in the afternoon, not at night, anything you use over and above your normal electricity will be for free.
Put the dishwasher on.
Well, yeah. So I ran around, being the absolute tightwad that I am, and I plugged in both cars.
Yes.
Put on the washing machine.
Yeah.
Put on the immersion heater.
Oh, I love
to get some of that. Plugged in everything to charge, and then they clearly hadn't learnt and sent me this another 2 times. So I was doing exactly the same and taking great delight. And it was getting close to the limit of my domestic fuse of how much electricity I was using. And they sent me a thing saying this is how much electricity you've used over and above. And it was like 14 kilowatts I used in that hour. And I'm like, yes, get in there.
In your face.
Yeah, and it's worth quite a bit of money. Well, when I say quite a bit, it'll buy a pint down the pub. The money that you've saved each time.
Pints are expensive.
So yeah, exactly. So I'm like, wow, excellent.
That's
so
bloody marvellous.
Continue.
Yes,
maybe this is the future. The whole dynamic pricing thing with domestic electricity. So when it's expensive, you set your house to use a battery or to use your car's battery when energy is expensive or there's pressure on the grid, and then when there's not, you use it to top it up. And it's the future. And I am living proof that you can change people's behaviour just by offering them something for free or making something very expensive.
That's brilliant, though, isn't it? Even just an hour makes a massive, massive difference, because then you're like, quick, switch everything on, and you can get so much done within that 1 hour. That's great. Well done, Octopus.
Yeah, no, nice, isn't it? So hopefully,
I'm impressed.
Lots more of that.
Yes. Do you want to know what I did today?
Oh, what did you do?
I went to the dump.
Oh, what a treat. Recycling centre, I think they're called now, aren't they?
Well, yeah, recycling centre. We still call it the dump or the tip, either way.
Yeah.
And I took the Peugeot Longboy, and I had the best time. Do you know what? So I've been driving the E-Throw SW, the Longboy estate car, if you will. I've had it for a couple of months. And I was like, I feel like I haven't really used this to its full potential. Because, I've put in a couple of suitcases in the boot, or, done my Tesco shop and put it in the boot or whatever. And this was our opportunity to take full advantage of the space. And we filled the space from top to bottom, lowered the rear seats. We fully went for it. The amount of stuff we got in that car, my goodness. I feel like it's the perfect dump car. Perfect. Because also it's a really good height to get a load of stuff out of the boot as well. It's not like you're doing it in an SUV and then you've got to get on your tiptoes to get the stuff on the rear seats. It's actually a really good height to grab stuff and get stuff in and out. It was great. We had a wonderful 15, 20 minutes down the dump. It was really good.
Now, in terms of what always happens when I go to the dump, so I want to know if that happened to you. Yeah. Did you get told off by somebody in high vis?
No, never.
No?
No, why did you get told off?
Oh, I always get, it's like, no, you can't do that, because say you take a set of old IKEA chipboard drawers and you think, well, that's wood. And they go, no. You can't put that in the wood because it's got some metal runners still on it. So you have to put it in the scrap metal.
Oh, yeah. So you do have to take things apart. Did you not know that you should be taking things apart?
God. And then inevitably what will happen then is that you'll have a bin bag full of cat litter or soil or something, and it will split open and go all over the seats. Did you have that?
No, it didn't have that. No. No, we've got a compost thing out the back of the garden, so we normally just put a load of rubbish in there instead.
And the third thing that always happens is you get a puncture.
Didn't get that either. We had a wonderful trip. Sounds like you should never go to the dump. But if you do it in a Peugeot Longboy.
Oh yes, I think I need to go to the tip as well, so I'll have to get ready to get shouted at.
Yeah, you need to borrow you want to borrow the Peugeot? You're more than welcome, because you can get so much stuff in it.
Well, I have a big car coming next week because I have a long journey in need of some luggage room. So my elder boy is going to university, and
that's big.
That is big.
Yeah,
and he's got a room full of stuff that he needs to take, because you never know what you need when you go to university, clearly. Yeah. And so I thought, right, well, will it fit in the Lexus? Oh, possibly it will, because obviously the rest of the family want to go as well, so we can say goodbye. And so I looked down the list of what we need to drive and thought, what's the biggest thing? And I booked a plug-in hybrid Volkswagen Touareg. Purely
Okay.
because it was the only thing that we had that was big that we needed to drive.
Yeah, that'll be big enough.
Yeah, but I was thinking what would be, I'd have preferred to go fully electric. And I thought, what would be the ideal car for taking your son to university? Now, it needs to be obviously big enough for all the crap, and has to carry 4 people who are properly adult sized, 6 foot, in comfort for 2.5 hours probably from here to Leeds, and needs to have enough range so you can get up there and it will be all right. What else does it need to do? Well, the other thing, which, being shallow, if he's going to meet his future friends, you don't want it to be too embarrassing. You don't want to be turning up in a Duster, maybe. You want to be, or a Spring. You want to be turning up in something that's got a reasonable degree of status.
Yes, I see where
Is
you're
that
coming
shallow
from.
of me?
No, it's not shallow at all. I understand. He wants to instantly be cool, and I get it. Yeah, I get it.
So, what would you say? What would be an ideal car for doing a 2.5 hour round trip? Lots of space, a bit of street cred.
I mean, if you want space and you still want to go for an estate car, you could totally get a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo.
Tiny though. That's not going to get.
Well, I know the boot, because the boot kind of slides down a little bit. Like, it's not as big as like a normal estate car. It's more like a shooting brake, really, isn't it? But
I don't think that's going to work.
Oh, you might be able to, and then you're
BMW
so arriving style.
BMW i5, maybe. I thought that would be quite nice.
That's that could be a really good shout. Yeah, nice big i5.
I did think in terms of space, a Volkswagen ID Buzz would be great, and there's the new 7-seater.
You need the range.
That's true. And as I have discussed earlier,
as
I've discussed earlier, I do feel a bit of a tit driving an ID Buzz.
Why?
Just because it's all a bit brash, isn't it? I've just, when I've been driving them previously, and people constantly want to talk to you, which is obviously nice, and some people would love that, but I was just a bit like,
You're lucky that Mike is not on this podcast, because me and Mike would totally gang up on you right now.
Well, I know, and we have had this discussion with Mike, and Mike and I obviously have different tastes in lots of things, and that's great, and that's what makes the world go round.
Yes.
And that's why Mike wears pink shorts and
he does,
cravats, and
he makes them look good.
Orange hoodies.
And you make it look good.
Well, thank you, my dear.
You could go for an EV9, to be fair.
Actually, an EV9 would be
and just put the rear seats down. Then you can still get 4 adults in there in comfort, and you've still got loads of room, and you've still got the street cred.
Yeah, EV9 is a very good call.
Yeah.
So let us know if you've, not you, out there, if you've got any suggestions of what's the best car to go to university in, or to take your son to university in.
I hope he enjoys it.
I think he's going to love it. He's
I think so. Yeah.
Right, what else? If anybody sees him looking lost in Leeds, then show him the way.
Poor thing.
Yes.
Right, let's talk about the
serious stuff.
The ZEV mandate. Go for it.
Yeah, talking of dumps, who's going to get dumped? So a company called New Automotive has done some figures, some kind of crystal ball gazing about the zero emission vehicle mandate, which means that 22% of all cars sold have to be electric, I think, isn't it, in this year? And then it goes up next year, and you get certain credits for hybrids and other things, and it's all quite complicated. But basically, there's a thought that if you only sell petrol or diesel cars at the moment, you're either going to have to pay a big fine or just not sell them. And so they have done the figures and seen how short companies are if they carry on at their current pace. So the big one is Volkswagen, the Volkswagen Group, who will be 13,000 cars short of getting there. So they need to sell 13,000 electric cars or pay some fines or not sell petrol cars anymore.
Now,
could this, a big ask.
Well, it's a big ask, but could this mean that if we kind of hold fire towards the end of Q4, that you can get some really mega deals on some VW EVs?
Yeah, I think this is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
this is what's going to happen. There's just going to be some crazy deals on them. So if you look at these, who's running short, you can think, well, either they're not going to sell any petrol and diesel cars again, and That's their prerogative, I suppose, or they're going to do some really good deals. So the other one, Ford, 7,345 cars short.
That doesn't surprise me at all, and I
Doesn't
don't think
surprise
they're
me
going to be able to
either.
sell that Capri.
No. And also, that's a Volkswagen, so it's between the two of them.
Yeah.
Stellantis 4,000 short, and I mean, look at the deals already on electric Vauxhalls, and constantly in my deals of the week, which we shall get to in a moment. Actually, they are the best deals are always on Vauxhalls.
Yeah, well, that's because they started
Yeah,
so high when they first
yeah,
released them. They first,
yeah,
launched the Astra, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to charge you 40 grand." Obviously, didn't sell
mm,
any, so now you
mm,
can get much better deals, I guess.
yeah. The interesting one for me is Suzuki, which is 3,141 short, which, unlike the others, I don't see a way out of it. They don't have an electric car. So what are they going to do? If you're involved in selling the cheaper end of the scale petrol cars and in some cases hybrid cars,
Yeah,
they can't. They're going to have to either buy the credits, which are 15,000 euros each, or not sell the cars. So I don't know. Has Suzuki got a future?
I don't know.
Maybe it'll be killing them
Does
off. If
Suzuki
you've got
not have a single EV? I'm sure they did.
no, they've got a hybrid now, which gives them some credits, but
Ah,
there's not, is there? There's nothing. I'd kind of miss them. I quite like small Suzukis, and I like their place in the market of having cheap cars, which are quite good. But
and we all love a
without an
Jimny.
EV, they're dead. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, which of course they had to kill off because of emissions
I
now.
know. If they make a
Turn that to an
Jimny
EV,
into an EV, oh my goodness,
yeah,
they would
yeah,
be
that'd be
selling
great,
them
wouldn't
by
it?
the bucket load. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Now going to the deal of the week, and it was a Stellantis product. Now, this is the only time I've had this where I've looked at a deal and thought, blimey, that's cheap. And then by the time we've got to this podcast, a couple of hours later, it's disappeared. They've all sold out. So
Oh, okay.
it was very cheap. So the DS3 Crossback, you remember DS?
Yeah.
It's not something you see. But the DS3 Crossback was, I suppose it's like a kind of Vauxhall Mocha or a
Kind
Peugeot
of.
E2008, but a bit posher, wasn't it? So it had
Nice interiors in a
nice
DS.
interiors.
Yeah.
Again, it's a little bit gauche, perhaps, for me. So, but I can see why you would want one.
Yeah.
But it was £215 a month. Now, bear in mind, this is using my normal criteria, which is 6 months down payment, 8,000 miles a year, and a 3-year deal. 215 quid a month. I mean,
That's
it's cheaper
very
than a
good.
Corsa. Cheaper than a Corsa. So
That's
clearly, they
crazy.
just had some left and thought, we want to get rid of these. But yeah, it's gone. So now it's just back to the normal deals of Corsas and Astras and the usual please buy the last of our Leafs
Yeah,
for
please, we're struggling.
170 quid a month.
Buy
Yeah.
our things. Yeah. I haven't driven a DS in ages, actually. I might need to look
No.
into driving one again because I've completely forgotten how they've driven.
Yeah, well, Nikki Shields turned up to a shoot in a DS7 the other day. I don't think I'd ever seen one before. And it's
Oh
like,
no, yeah, I've
look at
seen
this.
that one. Yeah, because she's had that for a couple of months, I think. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I
Mm,
haven't driven one in
mm.
such a long time. Right, should we get to comments because we've gone way over
Comments and
half an
questions.
hour.
Oh, we have, haven't we? Okay, we better go through these. Yes, so the first one, Carlos Fandango. I bet you don't know what Carlos Fandango is.
Right,
You're too young for Carlos
Carlos
Fandango.
Fandango. Is it a reference to something?
Yeah, it is.
What is it?
And it was kind of, when I was a kid, everybody who tuned their car was said to have like Carlos Fandango wheels on it. And it was from a Panama Cigar TV advert. So this is when they used to, in the old days, advertise tobacco products on television.
That's
And there was
crazy,
this
isn't it?
guy who had a tuned car and he had Carlos Fandango written on his
Carlos
wheels,
Fandango.
and they fell off, and then he smoked a cigar and everything was fine. But it kind of
Okay.
stuck. It's one of those things that made popular culture with Carlos Fandango. So anyway, Carlos Fandango, 1975, made a comment, didn't he?
Yes, so says, with regards to Chinese EV dealerships, I saw an Ineos Grenadier dealer selling from a shipping container with 3 demo cars on the edge of a little car park today in Dorchester. Great idea. This is what the non-legacy brands need to copy to allow customers to touch and drive before they lease. That's an interesting approach to selling a
It
car.
is. It is. I'm just thinking, Nicola, we ought to have a water break just to keep the
no, of course.
listeners.
I've just had a little sip, but I'm going to have another one.
Oh, that's better. Yeah. Don't want to upset anyone. Well, yeah, Carlos Fandango, I think that is quite clever, especially for brands like Ineos where there aren't dealers necessarily nearby. But that can be £100,000 car. Do you really want to buy it from a shipping container in a little car park? It's perhaps not on brand, is it? I don't know.
Also, of all the car parks to choose from, you choose a Lidl, which is where people are doing budget shopping. You're not really hitting the right customers by going to a Lidl car park. You want to pop yourself in a Marks and Spencer's or a Waitrose car park, then you're selling a Grenadier.
Yeah, true. Skipping forward slightly to another dealer one, and Paul Meyer CU3DS says that the dealer question really matters as I look around to buy a new car. If I want a Smart, I have to go to the north of Birmingham, some 50 miles away, though I may be able to get it serviced in Wolverhampton, a mere 40 miles away. If I want an Alfa Romeo, I have to go to Nuneaton, more than 50 miles away. Mini can be had in Worcester, 15, and I don't know if these dealers have something for me to test drive and whether they'll let me drive it. I really do want some pre-sale, post-sale and servicing support a bit closer to home. Now, this is interesting. You do see occasionally, you drive through a village and you see it's full of Daihatsus or something. You think, well, how did that happen? And then find out that the only dealer in town is a Daihatsu dealer.
Yeah.
I was considering getting one of those lease deals on an Aura. But again, the dealer's 50 miles away. Now, you might never need to go to the dealer except once every 2 years for a service and when you buy and sell the thing. But if something's going wrong with it or you've got an issue, then going that far is going to be a bit of a pain. Which is, I suppose, where all these kind of concierge things like Genesis used to have, didn't they? Where they'll come and
that's what I was going to say. We can drop a car off to you to drive around for a little bit, or like you can borrow one for a day and see how you like it, and then we can drop it off and pick it up, and if it needs a service, we'll pick it up, drop it off, that kind of thing. I feel like that's possibly the best way forward. But in terms of price for those brands, it will only really be the luxury brands like your Genesis, those kinds of brands that will be able to afford to do that. Like, you probably won't ever get that with a Fiat.
Yeah, very true.
So you're just going to have to go local and hope for the best, or drive 50 miles. Like, you have to set aside a proper day out to go and test drive some cars. Larry, shall we not make some noise, please? He's having a go at me because I haven't taken him out for a walk today because it's been raining. So,
is he made of sugar, as my mum used to say? I've been told off as well by Tassie EV.
What? Why?
She says, sorry guys, I disagree. I own a Kona EV 2024 edition. Now, I think over several weeks I've been saying I don't really like the Kona, the way it looks, especially the rear three quarters, and I couldn't live with it. She loves it. If people want crap software, stupid window controls and buttons that aren't buttons, then go for a VW ID3. As for aesthetics, that is subjective, and you two should not be commenting on each person is different.
I totally agree with Tassie there. I totally agree with her.
What, we're not allowed to have an opinion?
No, you are allowed to have an opinion, but aesthetics is a personal opinion. And if you this is the problem with car reviews, is that if you don't like it, someone else might read it and go, well, then I also don't like it, and just try and agree with you because you're the one that writes about cars or talks about cars, so we should take your opinion. And looks are totally subjective and totally down to the person. I like the Kona EV. I think sometimes it looks like a hippo, but I quite like it. So I'm with Tassie on this one. So Tom, shut your face.
No more opinions from me then. I'll just say that the front of the car was not designed. I can't remember. I just said I don't think I could live with that rear three quarters, and I think that the kind of the wheel arch treatment is a bit weird.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'll phrase it something like the front of the car doesn't look like it's been designed by the same person as the back of the car. Yeah, that type of thing. It's I'm not quite sure how I can put my opinion. But the Mini John Cooper works. Some people will love it.
I would love
happen to not.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
If you like cars that have no suspension, then you'll think it's great.
You have to wear a sports bra in that car just for the news. Just so you know.
We have another moan, which should probably be our last one. We're allowed to finish on
the moan about the cheap cars video.
moan about the cheap cars video.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from Alan the Skinhead. Lovely. Hi, Alan. Usual over-bloated journalists on big wages. Not everyone has nowhere near £25,000. 25k is not cheap. Even the Spring is out of reach for most people. EVs are not the way forward. Hybrids are better and will last longer. Also, they don't tell you that a battery replacement will cost £4,000 for a small battery. Right. Hi, Alan. Can we just say we're not extremely wealthy? It may appear like that because sometimes we go on really fancy events for car launches, but that's brands paying for them, not us. We don't pay for those things. We don't pay to go into the fancy hotels and that sort of thing. That's all down to the brands paying those. We're not mega wealthy, believe us.
No, it's not a well-paid job, is it? Because lots of people want to do it. So
yes.
that keeps the prices down, or the wages down. Well, what I would say is that I have an electric car, and I don't think I could afford not to have an electric car. So they're not all expensive. Also, I mean, why would you replace a battery? You're saying £4,000. You don't need to replace batteries. It's very rare that you have failures. Because I'm kind of a sucker for this sort of thing, I'm on a couple of Facebook groups for people who have 2-litre diesel Land Rover and Jaguar engines, and other ones for people who have Ford EcoBoost or EcoBoom, as they call it, engines. And the failure rate on them is huge, and it costs a lot of money. If you want Land Rover to replace your engine, it's £20,000, and they fail a lot. Now, people say, "Oh, the batteries are going to break." No, they're not. The diesel engines are going to break. So it swings around about, but they don't break generally, batteries. Also, you can get brand new now on a lease, £170 a month, that Nissan Leaf. Less if you're on salary sacrifice, and even less if you want to have a lower mileage. Now, if you're spending 50, 100 quid a month on fuel and road tax and everything else, that is a cheap way of getting around. So you don't have to be rich. 170 quid a month is going to be a lot for a lot of people. I understand that. But also, if they're currently driving a petrol or diesel car and it needs an MOT and it needs servicing every year, and they need to put petrol in it and tax it, it doesn't seem like a lot, is what I would say.
And I think as well that there's a way of looking at pricing when it comes to cars. I know when a car is launched, like, for example, the EX90, we found out the price of that this week. We found out it was £100,555, which is an insane amount of money, a lot of money. But looking at it as you're not going to go out and give them £100,555 to buy the car off the lot and then it's your car. No one really does that. That's not kind of how it works. So saying I'm going to buy a car for 25 grand, you're not going to go to the dealer and give them 25 grand. You're probably going to go and sort out a lease deal or a PCP deal and pay monthly, which ends up becoming way more affordable. So I think looking at the price of a car, as much as it will say, to buy 25 grand, you need to look at the monthly deals and what it will be monthly for you, because that's the most likely approach that people are going to take to buying a car. Because none of us have the money to go out and buy a 25 grand car. Nobody does. Who has that?
Especially not journalists.
Exactly. Yeah. No one can just go out and buy a car for 25 grand. But when you look at it as a monthly deal, if it's something that's like, say, we were talking about the DS, for example, being, what was it, 215 quid a month, then you'd go, okay, I can do that. So then you'd go and approach it that way rather than just giving them 25 grand. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We've gone massively over.
We really have. I'm so sorry.
Chatting.
This is the problem when I'm on the podcast, is I can't stop talking about rubbish.
Because
I went to the dump. Because I went to the dump. So.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I think there's somebody who left a comment before, and they do a 45-minute run and they listen to the podcast. So it upsets them terribly if we go over 45 minutes, but I think we're just under, so we should be all right.
Right, we're
so we
okay
should wrap it up now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. As always, if there's any questions or anything that you want to ask, specifically Tom, because he's the deal man, then put it in the comment section below. If you're listening, wherever you get your podcast, then give us a little 5-star rating, because it's always good for the algorithm and all that sort of thing. And if there's anything in particular that you want discussed on next week's podcast, then let us know in the comment section. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.